Hello, everybody, and welcome again today to WinPure's weekly webinar. My name is Ben Cutler, and I'm one of our solution specialists here at WinPure. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. So, for those that are joining for the first time here, just a quick introduction. Keep in mind we're hosting these weekly webinars. Really with the intention of just providing some interesting and educational content to help you to better understand what kind of services and solutions we provide and ways that we can help you. Typically, these webinars are focused on very specific topics, generally geared towards product introduction, training, and orientation. And occasionally, we're also going to cover some very specific use cases and hot topics with guest speakers, things like systems migration, systems implementation, so on and so forth. So please, stay tuned, join us when you can, and keep your eyes out for the recordings if you can't join us live. Quick note is that everyone on the call is muted today, but of course you can ask questions via the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel, and I will try to answer those questions, usually starting at about the 15-minute mark. So following the webinar today, I'll send out an email to everyone who registered with a link to my online calendar and a recording to this webinar. So feel free to reach out with any feedback, any questions that you might have that we might not have been able to answer during the webinar today. Reach out if you'd like to, schedule a one-on-one or a group demo with me. If you have any feedback following the webinar or any, suggestions, for topics for future webinars. So happy to hear from you, happy to make arrangements to meet with you. Again, a link to my online calendar and a link to this recording once we finish. But let's go ahead and jump into the webinar today. Today's webinar is going to be more presentation-based versus demonstration-based. So we're going to look at how you can clean your email lists and really just verify any emails that you have coming in using our email verification tools. Keep in mind that we encourage you to go online, emails.winpure.com, create a free account. No credit card is needed. Create a free account, and we'll send you instructions to claim 100 free credits so that you can go ahead and do some testing yourself. It's very point and click. It's very simple to use. We're going to take a look at all of that today on the webinar. But again, if you want to see how this actually works, it's very, very simple. Create an account. We'll send you instructions to claim the free 100 credits, upload some data, submit it for verification. Typically within minutes, you'll have those results and you'll see exactly how it works. So, a bit more introduction here. WinPure, we're trying to help you with, all types of data quality problems, data quality profiling, data cleansing, data standardization, data matching, data deduplication. We've got our flagship Clean and Match software for those who are not familiar with Clean and Match. We do have a free trial available, but also address verification, email verification, and a variety of other ways that we can potentially help you. So keep in mind, all of our solutions are very plug and play, point and click, very simple to use, typically require minimal implementation, minimal training, so you can quickly, easily, and very affordably start making your data more useful, right? So let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration here today. And so today's topics are essentially going to look like this. We're going to answer the question, what is email verification? How does email verification work? How can you potentially implement email verification solutions into your data processing operations? Some of the high-level general benefits when it comes to email verification, what those results are going to look like, and what that online portal looks like. Again, that's emails.winpure.com. So let's go ahead and jump into it here. Oh, skipped a little too far. What is email verification? Well, email verification, has different, keywords and things like that, otherwise known also as email validation. Essentially it's the process of verifying the accuracy, the quality, the deliverability, and the usefulness of your email addresses. Now, so again, just a quick reminder, we have different solutions available. We have a real-time API solution for more of, verification kind of at the front end as you ingest or you capture that digital information. We also have a batch solution, both available within the portal. That batch solution is going to be more fit for verifying emails that already exist in list format, right? So essentially, the email verification is going to separate out the good from the bad, right? Good being deliverable to specific individuals, the bad being a variety of different scenarios, spam addresses, temporary addresses, misspelled addresses, so on and so forth. But very, very quickly and easily separating the good from the bad. So the solution to a bad list of emails or an unreliable list of email information, email verification, both at the front end for real-time, API email verification and that batch solution. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide here. So how does it work, right? So up top here, very brief, high-level explanations, just, simple examples of how the verification is actually working. Down below, valid and invalid, just a few simple examples, a few examples of many potential scenarios of valid and invalid email addresses. So if we look up top here, the first part of the check is going to be a syntax check. That essentially looks at the structure of the email. So a classic example is, does your email address contain the @ symbol, right? But there are a variety of potential other examples. You're typically going to see, some domain followed by .com. If it's, .com or .com, those are also going to fail the syntax checking, right? So there's a variety of possibilities here. So that syntax check is the first check that's performed. If you look down below on the left, on the valid side, you can see support@winpure.com. So if you send an email to that email address, it will reach its destination, will receive that email. On the right side, on the invalid side, the syntax example there, support.winpure.com is not going to pass that syntax check, right? It's missing the @ symbol. Instead of the @ symbol, it's got a .. symbol. It's going to pick up on those types of errors. The next check is the domain check. And this simply is checking to see if the domain exists and if it's configured to accept email. Right, so it's a high-level example, a high-level explanation. There are a variety of other possibilities there. Down below, the valid example, sales@winpure.com. It is going to pass the syntax check. It is going to pass the domain check, and any email sent to that email address will reach their destination. On the other hand, on the invalid side, the domain check, sales@winpure.com, is not going to pass that domain check, right? WinPure.com does not exist and it's not configured to accept email. So it's going to fail that test. The third check here is the mailbox checking, and this is potentially the most powerful and the most important step. This is actually checking to see if the mailbox exists, is configured to receive emails, to accept emails. If it's active, there's a variety of different checks this way. So again, it's a high-level example and a high-level explanation, but it's actually pinging that specific email address. So once it's done the syntax check and the domain check, and it confirms that both of those are valid, it's going to do a ping to that actual email address. So down below here, you can see on the valid side, ben.cutler@winpure.com is going to pass the syntax check, the domain check, and the mailbox check. So if you send an email to that email address, I will receive that email. On the invalid side, the mailbox check, if you were sending to ben@winpure.com, yes, a ben@winpure.com does exist, but again, a ping to that email address is going to fail, right? It doesn't exist. So this is kind of a high-level example. There are a variety of other scenarios there in terms of, how emails, may exist within your database, why they may potentially fail any one of these checks, but these are a few examples. So very helpful information just to better understand what's actually happening. Very, very sophisticated check. I mean, that's really all you need when it comes to email verification. The next slide here, how can you potentially implement our email verification solutions into your systems and processes? Right, so let's take a look at this slide, and let's start over here on the right, where, you know, an important consideration here is how is this information being used within the organization, you know, both for more immediate use, such as, you know, marketing to subscribers and things like that, but also really throughout the customer journey. And when that information, that email address might then later be, you know, fed to your CRM or to your billing systems, things like that, and really thinking about all of the potential impacts on your organization. So marketing, customer service, customer loyalty programs, you know, billing, things like that. And a couple of different solutions here, right? So again, I mentioned previously the API solution and the batch solution. So once your emails exist within a database or, you know, a marketing platform or something along those lines, once they exist in, you know, what you might refer to as a list format, our online batch verification solution is going to work great for you. That's going to be a good fit. Essentially, and very simply, upload the data, start the verification process, and typically within minutes you're going to have those results, and you're going to know exactly what is good and what is not good. But if we think about how the data is ingested, and, you know, again, thinking about different, you know, areas of business, you know, it's not just a single use case here. You know, when we look at the organization and how email addresses are coming into the organization, you know, they come into different departments. You know, a lot of the times you might have multiple emails for any single contact, things like that. You've got, you know, different ingestion platforms, landing pages, mobile apps, you know, other websites. You might have, you know, some in-store purchasing or other, you know, point of sale and things like that. So, you know, in some cases, you're going to want to capture and verify that information wherever it's being ingested, and the API is going to work great for that. It's pretty simple to implement. The API documentation is right there on the website, emails.winpure.com. And again, it's very economical, and it's going to run that 3-part check. It's going to help you to prevent bad information from getting into your master customer databases in other ways. But if you're purchasing lists, or you already have the information in a database or in a marketing platform or in a CRM and things like that, you're going to want to go ahead and use that batch service. Great, so let's move on here. A very short list of you know, some of the more straightforward benefits of email verification. Now again, think back to the organization, how the information is being used, different departments and things like that, because I'm sure you're going to be able to add quite a bit to this list. But these are a few benefits here, some things just to get you thinking. I've broken this down into 3 buckets. Kind of immediate optimization of the information, some immediate and near-term operational improvements, and essentially that bottom line, right? So once you've run the verification, be it through the API or through the batch verification service, you're going to experience an immediate optimization, which is just ascertaining the usefulness, the quality, the deliverability, and the relevance of any email addresses that are run through that email verification system, right? So an immediate optimization there, be it through batch or API. Now, immediate and near-term operational improvements reduces in email bounces. So again, we're thinking about marketing, or, you know, whatever your specific purposes may be, maybe sales purposes, things like that. But, you know, again, when we look at the bigger picture, thinking at scale, we're talking about, you know, multiple senders within your organization, and probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands or more receivers, right? And reducing in email bounces, or, you know, down below at the bottom of the list, sender reputation, deliverability issues. These things at scale are going to be very costly to your business, right? So very, very important benefits to consider. Providing reliable database to your sales teams, right? Or other teams throughout the organization. You know, if you think about that customer journey, And you're typically, most organizations, you're starting with some kind of a marketing list, marketing out to subscribers, things like that. You might even have, multiple email addresses for any single, subscriber and things like that. And let's just say bad information gets into your database. Maybe it's a purchase list, maybe it was, organically ingested and captured and things like that. But, a lot of different ways that information, that bad information is going to sneak its way into, your master customer data. And, just an example here, and I've seen this before, is that, you're marketing out to subscribers, and for one reason or another, maybe it's a Gmail address, maybe your sender reputation is low or something along those lines, but they never actually get those emails, but they do end up on your website, they do make a purchase, and 12, 16, 18 months later, they didn't realize it was a subscription, they haven't been receiving your emails, and now you've got a pretty upset customer. And again, at scale, that's going to be a very costly issue to your business. So this is a very economical solution. It's very easy to use, and it's really highly recommended. Number 3, looking at campaign insights. So we think about insights and how we analyze and use information in the business. And, at the end of the day, this just helps us to work smarter, more effectively, more efficiently, and, junk in, junk out. If we're sending out to a bunch of, role-based emails, in our marketing campaigns, things like that, emails like support at, sales at, info at, things like that. We're sending out to a bunch of temporary, email addresses or spam email addresses or outdated things like that. We need to be able to clean that up to be able to actually extract some useful insight from that information. So, give that some consideration and think how that might be impacting your business. But other benefits include, improved customer engagement, saving, time and efforts in fixing bounces, and the bottom line, saving the business money, increasing campaign ROI, increasing operational efficiency, and really so much more. So important to take into consideration. Here's a quick look at what you might expect, kind of at a high level, something very visual once you get those results, right? So once you've run, let's just say, you've signed up for a free account, no credit card, required. We've sent you the instructions for 100 free emails. You've done some testing there, and you've got those results, right? Or maybe you're actually using our service. Very quickly and easily, and we're going to take a look at the online portal here before we finish up, but very quickly and easily, you're going to have a few buckets of useful and not useful information, right? So you're going to know very quickly and easily who you should continue sending to, emails for which may have spelling errors or syntax errors. That information may be useful. It may need some cleanup, some correction and things like that. Keep in mind, our software clean and match may be useful for doing some of that cleanup. You may need to do some, one-off manual checks and things like that. But, do you want to, simply remove those email addresses from your database, or do you want to try to clean them up? Obviously the decision is yours, and it depends on the value, the use of the information. But again, on the right here, not useful, you're going to find outdated, no longer in use. Maybe, somebody who signed up for an email address and just, completely abandoned that email address, and it still may be, receiving emails, but it's not active. There's no activity, and it's essentially a spam trap at that point. It's going to affect your sender reputation. You're going to find others that are duplicates, or maybe test emails set up for marketing automation tests, things like that. You're also going to find fake or temporary email addresses. So there are a lot of possibilities there, but the coding, the reasons behind the successful pass of the email verification or the fail of the email verification, all of that information is going to be made available to you, and it's very, very simple. Right there from the portal, you can actually see the buckets of useful and non-useful or not useful information. So very quick to break that down. So let's take a look at the portal. Let's take a look at the website here before we open it up to questions. So again, I want to make this real quick. Open it up to questions. If you have some questions, feel free to submit those. We'll open it up. So it's emails.winpure.com. Again, create a free account. No credit card is needed. We'll send you the instructions for 100 free credits. You can see right up at the top here, we have online email cleansing. That's the batch tool. Email verification API. That's the real-time for real-time data ingestion. Again, the API documentation is right here on the website. Most of your pricing questions can be answered right here on the website. But again, if you've got some questions, if you want to have a discussion, feel free to reach out. Let's go ahead and flip down here. Take a look at the actual portal. I'm going to skip through this pretty quickly. 4 tabs: your data, upload file, settings for your profile, and real time. So what we're going to look at today is your data, upload file, and real time. Your data is going to contain information here. Each list that you've uploaded, volume, upload date, the status of the verification there, and action. So once you're ready to actually, you've uploaded some data, you can see it here, and you want to run that through the verification, you're going to use the action button. So very, very point and click, very simple to use. Upload, very simple, straightforward. Select a file to upload. There is a maximum of 50,000 per file. And let's take a look. Once you've run it through the verification here, you're going to see some very visual, color-coded information, how many records were in the file, how many were unique and non-duplicates, how many were duplicates, and then down below, and if you continue to scroll down here, you'll see some more charts and things like that to break it down. But just a quick look here: total emails, total deliverable, and you can go ahead and just download that, total undeliverable, and total unknown. Those unknowns, they turn up as unknown for a variety of different reasons. Wouldn't hurt to to break down the list to a smaller list and just work with the unknowns, maybe resubmit for another pass of verification. Certainly possible you may pick up a few more verified emails in doing it that way. But again, at the end of the day, you've got that information there. You can further analyze that if you want to make better use of it. Let's take a look here. So again, real time on this tab here. Again, you can request a trial license key for the email API. Again, the documentation is right there on the website. So you can start verifying emails at the point of ingestion, be it through a mobile app, a website, so on and so forth, a landing page, and you can actually do that verification before it hits your CRM or your marketing platform, so on and so forth. Once you've set that up, you will have a dashboard here, and you'll be able to view all of your statistics and your usage and things like that. So very, very useful. Again, very simple to use, very point and click, and really the most affordable email verification solution on the market. So let's go ahead and open it up to questions here. We've got about 7 minutes left. Let's see what kind of questions we have coming in. Great. So let's just go ahead and go one by one. We've got just a few questions here, so we should be able to shoot through this pretty quick. First question: is this a hosted service or a software download? Great question. Yeah, so again, we provide a variety of solutions and services. This is a hosted service, which is really what you need. It's the only way that we can offer the type of coverage and accuracy that we do. All verifications are running through our global data centers using a huge network footprint, which is, it just essentially allows us to avoid any unnecessary resistance from the ISPs, who like to kind of, identify any kind of verification that's going on, through multiple hits to those servers, and they like to, put up a bit of resistance that way. So it is a hosted service, and that's exactly what you need. Good question. Let's go to the next one here. Can you validate consumer emails like Hotmail and Yahoo in batches? Yeah, absolutely. We can do that in batch and API. Again, keep in mind, for batch purposes, if we're working with, 50,000 emails that, most of which are Hotmail and Yahoo, you are going to run into, it's typically it's a small minority of whatever you submit, but you are going to run into some resistance, if you're submitting a large list at one time, and the majority of them are consumer ISPs like Hotmail and Yahoo. So if I'm submitting 10,000 Yahoo email addresses, I would probably expect some resistance there. So again, how you choose to handle that is up to you. That'll typically show up as an unknown. We would recommend for those scenarios to implement the API, so you're doing it one by one instead of in batch. But at the same time, you can certainly run a second pass. You can do some additional validation once you have those results back. But yeah, good information. We can absolutely do it. We do it every day. You can do it both in batch and API. Just keep in mind any large quantities of, kind of pinging against any particular, in any one consumer ISP, you could run into some resistance that way. Great question. Let's take a look here. Next question, are there any domains that you can't verify? So this is a really useful question. This is interesting. If you think about it, there are, millions, millions might be a small number, but there are millions of active domains used for email purposes. So, it would be literally impossible for me or for us to try to provide a list of those that we can verify against, and those that we cannot. But what's important to understand is that we can verify against the most common consumer ISPs. Again, Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, Gmail, Comcast, Yandex, so on and so forth. So the most importantly is that yes, we can do the verification for the majority. But there are so many out there. It's kind of hard to know where we might run into some complications that way. So good question. Let's see what else we have here before we wrap up. How secure is my data? Great question. Obviously important. Anytime you're talking about a hosted service, there's we've seen so many breaches and things like that. It's really important to ask that question. Now note that you can also remove the data after uploading, but your data is very secure. It's not something that you should be concerned about at all. It is an important question for any type of hosted service, be it a data center or anything else. It is a really important question. But again, just a quick reminder, WinPure, we've been in business since 2003. We have thousands of clients all over the world, 50 plus countries. We offer a variety of data solutions and services, both on-premise and kind of more as a service or even a hosted service. So we take your security and confidentiality very seriously. Feel free to reach out if you'd like to have a better conversation, if you have any specific concerns. We also have our privacy policy made public if you'd like to take a look there, but nothing at all that you should be concerned about. Next question here, can you import a list of customized domain names for email verification? Good question. I don't know if we have enough time, but if you can submit just a clarification there, I think that would be helpful. Otherwise, just shoot it to me by email after the webinar. I guess I'm not sure. Customized domain names for email verification. I mean, yes. If it's an email address, you can absolutely submit it for email verification. It kind of makes me think. Are there domains that you can't verify? And the answer to that question again is, there's millions, if not more, domains used for email purposes, and some of those may be set up, to receive emails. Others, may put up some resistance for that type of verification. So if you have some examples, again, you have 100 free credits. I'd encourage you to jump online. Again, it's emails.winpure.com. Create a free account, no credit card required. We'll send you the instructions to claim a free 100 credits, and you can do some testing there. Or again, you'll get an email from me. Feel free to reach out and we can have a better conversation. But great question there. It looks like that's all of the questions, and we're out of time today. So again, I just want to thank everyone for joining today. Really appreciate your interest. Hope you'll join us, next week and the weeks that follow. Again, if you want to suggest a topic, if you have questions, if you want to get in touch for a one-on-one or something along those lines, I'll send you those emails, those details after the webinar here today. So thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.